The other end.
Good afternoon. My name is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. So something happened to me yesterday. After I also teach a really strong Ashtanga class, one where I have my Fitbit. It expends the same amount of energy as Bob's Firm It Up class. And anyway, so I lose a lot of weight through sweat. And anyway, so I went through a great class yesterday morning. And anyway, so I go into the evening, and my back starts to hurt. And anyway, so I go to bed. I woke up in the middle of the night. Now, it was just intolerable. I had taken a couple of extra Tylenol, and once that wore off, I supplemented it with aspirin. And I did get back to sleep, but early this morning, not early this morning, 9 o'clock, I finally dragged myself out of bed. And it dawned on me that I wasn't very thirsty yesterday, which was unusual. And so I'm having this real problem with my back still, lower back. So I look up back spasms. And one of the causes is dehydration. And I pay attention to hydrating normally. And now this part will be a little too much information, but if, this is important for getting this across. Yes, I am. Okay. Now, well, I can't be more embarrassed about it than I am already. But anyway, even my urine was pale. Yeah, but I looked up online back spasms, and it says right there, big black letters, one of the major causes, other than a physical injury, is dehydration. So from that moment on, I started pumping my body full of water, and miraculously, it's gone. It took a few hours to get rid of that pain, but I was taught that, you watch your urine and that will tell you if you're dehydrated. And so be careful out there. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And you can't tell necessarily by observation. You have to be smart and do what you know is right too. So anyway, that's enough of that. Okay.
I hurt my back too, but I ran into a fence and pickleball, so I think I know what caused it.
Yeah. Wait a minute, I gotta. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're going to start today. Everybody's going to need a strap, and you're going to need 2 blocks. So if you don't have, I have a couple of extra blocks. I have plenty of extra straps. All you'll need is 1. So, yeah, and okay, and next week, please, please, please get 2 blocks for yourself. You need them 2 blocks almost every week. Okay, so let's come to the top of the mat, going into balance work. You all know the drill to get into Tadasana. So get your feet hip width apart. Look down at your feet. Get that second toe pointed roughly straight ahead. Stretch the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Gaze at the horizon. And then isometrically drag your feet toward each other. Really feel the muscles in your legs beginning to grab on, become alive. And then take the upper inner thighs, rotate towards the back of your mat, and then tuck your tailbone under. Your hips tilt. From here, lift your shoulders up towards your ears. Let them roll down your back. Just let your hands come down by your side. Just like that skeleton of mine. Just let your bones hang. Take the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Tuck your chin in just a little bit. Continue to breathe in and out through your nose. Your eyes can be open or closed. If your toes aren't gripping your mat, lift them up, spread them wide, and then let them down. And then just start to grip. Open your eyes. And this is just the first little warm-up for the balancing. So bring your weight into your left foot. Come up onto your right toes. Find a spot on the floor that's not moving. And inhale, lift your knee up, roughly parallel to the floor. Your arms can be anywhere. They're there primarily to keep you vertical. Point your toe and then flex your foot a few times. You can always go over against the wall. Everybody's going to be against the wall in a couple of moments. And then bring that right knee out to the side, maybe all the way to a 90 degree. If you fall out, that's okay. This is practice. And then from here, bring the sole of your foot into the inside of your left leg. It can be down on your ankle, it can be up on your thigh. Just don't have it on both sides of your knee, because your knee is not intended to move in that direction. Once you're stable, maybe your arms can go up, grow your branches. And feel how much your ankles are working. And then lower your arms, bring your foot down, and step that out. Back to Tadasana, do the other side. Feet into your right foot, lift your left knee up. Breathe here for a few breaths. Point and flex your foot. What you're doing here, the most important part of this balancing is you're improving your neuroplasticity. You're creating extra synapses, connections between your neurons in your brain. Not only will that improve the working of your brain, but it will also keep you from growing older. And then when you're ready, swing that knee out to the left. See what that does to the muscles in your right leg. And then come into tree pose, wherever is right for you. And if you're stable, maybe bring your arms up overhead. And if you're off today, that's okay. Tomorrow is always another day. And then release, come back down. Step that out. Okay, we have quite a bit of space along the walls here. So each of you grab 2 blocks in your strap and come up to a wall. You won't need your blocks immediately. Now, turn right towards the wall and reach your arm out so that you can just about touch the wall. So you're facing the wall. And then bring your hand down by your hips. This is going to be trial and error. And come to Tadasana. And then weight into your left foot. And then begin to lift your right leg up. And maybe you can put the sole of your foot on the wall. Getting it up to the top of the bar is not the goal. Try getting your heel there, knowing that that could be impossible, depending on how tight your hamstrings are. And if your leg is really bent, just keep it straight and come in lower. Notice what this does to your left leg. And then exhale, bring that hip down. Step that up. It will be fun in a moment. Okay, so back to Tadasana. And then on an inhale, we'll lift that left foot up. Put it against the wall. Now this leg might be different than the other. Most people have a different leg of some extent. Try to keep your hips square to the wall. You may be stretching that right hip or the left hip forward. Just try drawing it back. This will maintain your contact with the wall. And then exhale, let that foot down. This time, walk that out and grab your strap. Bring your left shoulder to the wall so that you're looking parallel along the wall. And bring your strap onto the ball of the right foot. Then make a bind. Now you can be bent over, but then lift up so that your leg is out straight in front. It doesn't have to be super high. Now you have the wall right here that you can touch, you can feel, you can hug, but lift that foot up straight out ahead. Tuck your tailbone under. And then from here, slowly move that leg out to the right. Maybe you're using the wall as a balance point. Maybe you're too close to the wall and need to be farther away. Notice how this feels in your hip. Slowly bring it back to the front, in front of you, and then lower it back down. Step that out. What you did there was you elevated your leg, and then you twisted the femur in your hip socket. This time, same way, bring your left foot is parallel to the wall, and your right foot is straight out into the room. Make a bind again. When you're ready, come up. This time your foot begins out to the side. Try to keep your hips square to the way you're looking. And then on an exhale, bring that foot out in front of you. And then take it back out. And then lower it back down. Step that up. That time you rotated your femur in your hip socket first, and then you elevate. Two different movements inside your hip. Now you get to do it on the other side. You can move farther away from the wall or closer to the wall if you wish. And see if you can feel the difference in the ways that you're doing it. So inhale, let that foot straight up, out in front. You have the strap, the Sanskrit name of this would be Tadasana. And then on an exhale, take it out to the left. Notice what's happening to your right hip. You have to treat that differently. Then inhale, come back to center. And exhale, release. Step that out. Put your foot back in the sling. This time, rotate that left foot out in 90 degrees from your right foot. So, get a ruler would be right angles to the wall. And then inhale, lift up, stand up, and then up towards the center of the room. Notice how different this is in your hip socket. And then exhale, bring it up in front of you. Back out to the left. And then exhale, release. Okay, step that out. Maybe raise your hips a little bit left to right. Make like a hula dancer. And then grab your blocks. We're going to do the yoga squat on the wall. Now, we did this a couple of times when you were Zooming, but we've never done this in a class before, in a classroom. So what you want to do is bring your blocks maybe 3 inches away from the wall. And you can get here any number of ways. You can bring your feet out at about 10 and 2, with your heels approximately at the front of your blocks, the front plane. Bring your palms together and just plop down. Maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. You can place the blocks, however you want to get the height that you need. But maybe you can get close enough to the wall. This chair rail is not really a benefit, but make your way down. But make sure that your back is against the wall. And right now, my hips are a little bit too far forward. Oops. From here, you can bring your hands, your palms together. Straighten up your spine. Bring your spine back to the wall. Tuck your chin. Allow your eyes to close. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose. And exhale it out through your nose. Take another deep cleansing breath in through your nose, out through your nose. And let your breath come to its own natural rhythm in and out through your nose. Hopefully you have a pretty good stretch on your groins. If not, maybe you can walk your feet a little bit farther out. Walk a little bit wider. Maybe you can lower your elbows inside your knees and push away. And observe your breath. Let your shoulder blades slip down your back. Notice wherever there's tension and breathe into that. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, open your eyes. And to get out of this, maybe you can just push the floor away with your feet and rise up. Maybe you have to come forward with your hands onto the floor. Whatever works for you is fine. Then take your blocks and your strap back to the mat. and come into table. Set your table so that your wrist creases are directly below your shoulders. Your knees are directly below your hips. And on an inhale, your belly drops, your chest comes forward, your sit bones lift and separate, gaze comes up, and exhale, round your spine, tuck your tailbone under, and your chin comes towards your chest. Do a couple more with your own breath. And the next time you come to center, pause. Now this next pose is just child's pose, but keep your knees where they are. Although if you wish, you can spread your knees wide. And bring your hips back down towards your heels. Your toenails should be down onto the mat. Your arms are out in front. And when you get down here, walk your hands forward. A little bit at a time. And feel the stretch all the way from the top of your sacrum all the way to your fingers. Your head comes down towards the mat. If you need to put a towel underneath your forehead or a block, that would be wise. That will allow your body to soften. And again, follow your breath here. Your body position is restricting your breath. So notice how your body takes care of that. Where is your body breathing to? And then experiment by breathing into your kidneys and seeing what that does. Or breathe into your rib cage. Maybe you can detect your hips coming down a little bit more. Maybe not. Maybe breathe one last time into your armpits and see what that does. How do your shoulders move? And then on your next inhale, just rise back up into table. Do a few more cat cows and exaggerate the movement. You're bringing more fluid to your spine, to your shoulders, and to your hip sockets. The next time you come to center pause, walk your hands and knees over to the right side of the mat. And then gently lower your left hip down so that your left thigh is parallel to the front of your mat. And then turn towards the front of your mat and lift up. Lengthen your spine. This is a face down spinal twist. So as in all twists, you get more the longer your spine is. From here, begin walking your hands forward towards the front of your mat. You can use a towel underneath your collarbones to give your head a little bit more space. Or put a block underneath your soft ribs. If you have a tender chest, maybe your gaze can go over your left hand, but that's not important. But feel this twist. This should be fairly intense, coming from your left shoulder down to your right hip, on both the front side of you and the back side. Maybe you can release your cheek to the mat. Now your palms are down here. And maybe you want a little bit more. And if you do, you can come up onto your fingertips. Maybe begin walking your fingers towards the wall in front of you, making a big arc. It would be silly to say that here in Florida you can make a snow angel in August or July, but that's the general concept. But just get it to be the right amount of tension in your shoulders that you want, and then just relax. And if that does nothing for you, bring your arms back. Maybe you can feel this all the way from your thumbs to your trapezius muscles and the tops of your shoulders. Breathe into wherever you feel the sensations are greatest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your arms back down next to your chest. On an inhale, push the floor away, coming up onto your left hip. And from here, just swing your feet around to the front of the mat. The next pose is going to start in seated position. That's going to be Dragonfly. So Dragonfly is a straddle, so your legs are out wide-ish. It's not important to get them the widest you can possibly get. You can sit on a towel or you can sit on a block. Just enough to get your hips to tilt forward. Have a block or two handy in case you come far forward and want to rest your head. From here, lift the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Bring your hands between your legs and then walk your hands forward, drawing your collarbones towards the front of your mat until you get to that first resistance and pause there. Notice where the tension is. This pose targets your groins and your hamstrings, your spine. So if you're getting lots of tension in your shoulders, just bend your elbows. And let gravity begin to draw your chest down. You can allow your head to fall forward, your spine to round. You can play with your feet. You might want to try pointing your toes gently and see if that has any influence over how far forward you can go. And that works because it reduces the space that your hamstrings travel, allowing them to release. See if you can allow your shoulder blades to soften. And again, be drawn down your back by gravity. See if you can feel those muscles that are still engaged. Maybe you want to take a hand on your calves and just lightly go over the skin and see if that has any influence on allowing those muscles to soften. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, and walking your hands back. If you're on a block or a towel, carefully remove it. Bring your hands behind your hips. Bring your footprints to the mat in front of you. And then slowly, windshield wiper your knees from left to right. And note if this is the same spacing that you always use between your feet when you do windshield wipers. Maybe just this once, change it. See what it feels like. The next time you come to center, pause. From here, sit up. And then cross your legs with your right leg in front of the left. You'll need a strap. No, I'm sorry, you won't need a strap on this side, but you will need a block. So make sure you have a block available. This is double swan. So for double swan, with your legs crossed, see if you can stack your ankles. And if you can, that's great. Maybe you can stack them such that the foot comes over the top of your other knee, the right foot on top of your left knee. You can use a block to support the right knee on top of your left foot. If this is too much for you, you can always straighten out that the left leg. Use a block underneath the right. So there's all kinds of choices. And if nothing wants to work, you can always do a reclining swan, where you incline yourself onto your back and draw your knee into your chest. From here, just allow your hands to rest for a moment. Close your eyes and observe your body. Observe what's happening inside your glutes, inside your hip sockets. Now, you may be feeling this more on the left side than the right. Most people would feel it on the right side, but everybody's bone structure is different. On an inhale, find your block. Your block has 3 different dimensions. What you want is the tall dimension to be tall, the wide dimension to go left to right across your body, and then just bring that block in between your forearms. Lift your elbows up so that they're almost parallel to the floor. That should be about where the block is. You can just barely see over the top of the block. Let's do an experiment. Draw your arms toward each other quite a bit and begin to wiggle your fingers. Okay, now stop wiggling your fingers and make a fist. Notice the difference there. With the fist, every muscle in from your shoulders all the way down are engaged. So release, wiggle your fingers again, because you want those muscles to be able to soften, and they won't be able to soften unless other muscles are soft. And then on an exhale, release. Hopefully bring the block down, set it aside. Inhale your spine tall. And on an exhale, walk your hands forward. You might not come very far, that's okay. Maybe you can get your chest down onto the floor. You're stretching your spine here. You're putting more tension on your glutes, which is the target here. So feel the difference between your left glutes and your right. Maybe you can feel a specific location for the most amount of tension. You can experiment by crab walking your fingers off to the right and see what that does. Pause there while your body adjusts. Notice how long it takes your body to adjust. And then crab walk your hands back. And then off to the left. And pause there. Take note what feels good so that you can use that knowledge on the other side. Just to notice, just to figure out if that's the best place to be. Walk your hands back to center. And bring your hands back up. Sit up straight. Remove your block. Or if you're using a block, carefully release your legs. Bring your feet out towards the front of the mat. Bring your hands behind your hips. Push your heels away. Rotate your legs in your hip sockets. You do that by just waving your feet from one side to the other. And then come down onto your elbows. Then down all the way onto your back. Raise your arms up towards the ceiling. And then towards the wall beyond your head. And push your heels away from your palms. Your toes away from your fingers. And then just relax there for a moment. The next pose is banana on the left side, because we've been working on the right side of your body. So recall in banana that you cannot move your hips. They are super glued to your mat. So start by scooching your head and shoulders towards the left side of your mat. When that feels reasonable to you, pause, and then walk your feet over to the left side of your mat without lifting your hips, without making any adjustment at all for your hips. Take your left hand and grab your right wrist and lengthen that right arm. So that you can feel a stretch all the way from your wrist to your elbow, to your shoulder socket, and down towards your hip, and your knee, and even the top of your foot. Keep that right hip down. And if you'd like a little bit more intensity, and this is not necessary, but maybe you want to just lift that right foot up a couple of inches and then put it over the top of the left ankle and relax it down so both legs are straight. And feel what that last little modification is done. Where do you feel that? You might feel that only in your glutes, but you could be feeling it on the front side of your pelvis too. Breathe into wherever you feel it. And use your breath to gain a little bit more space. By breathing into the center of your ribs on the right side, you're stretching your intercostal muscles, those tiny little muscles that hold your ribs together. That will make more space available for your lungs and for your heart. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, uncross your legs if they're crossed and walk them back to center. Scoot your shoulders and your head back to center. And then use your hands to help each other return to the front of your body. And when you're ready, bend your knees, walk your footprints towards your sit bones. And then draw your right knee into your chest. And give that one knee a nice long stretch. Maybe draw it out to the right a little bit. And a little bit of relief to your flexors. Then bring it over to the left. Lower that foot back down to the mat. And draw your left knee into your chest. And when you're ready, lower your left foot back down. Make sure you have a block available. Bring your hands next to your hips. Your feet are next to your hips. Tuck your tailbone under on an inhale. And lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Slowly. We'll be here for 2 or 3 breaths, or what makes the most amount of sense to you. This is a counter pose. Getting to stretch your quads, your ankles, your chest. And exhale back down. Grab your block. Inhale, tuck your tailbone under again. Lift your hips up. And place the block underneath your sacrum, any direction that feels good for you. And if you select the wrong height, that's okay. You can change it. Today, you may want the medium height, and then discover that's too much today. If you're stable and you want to walk your feet forward, walk your feet forward. Maybe your legs are completely stretched out, you're on the backs of your heels. Maybe you want to reach up and caress your hip crease.
naturally feel your psoas muscles here. Come over the front of your pelvis. About halfway between your pubis and your hip points. If you'd like to have a little bit more tension, you can always lift your arms up and bring them all the way overhead. And rest them on the floor beyond your head. And then let everything go. Let gravity stretch your core, your abs. Your quads. Every muscle on the front body. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, you turn your arms back down by your sides. Before you walk your feet back up towards your hip bones. On an inhale, lift your hips up, move the block, and gently come back down to the mat. Draw your knees into your chest. Push your sacrum into the mat and rock from left to right. And then make some big circles on the ceiling with your knees. And with these big circles, you can even lift your shoulders up as your knees go towards your feet. And then go the opposite direction. And the next time you come to center, pause. Lower your feet to the mat. Walk your feet all the way out to the front of your mat. Push your heels away. Don't push your calves down into the mat. Bring your arms overhead and towards that far wall again. And stretch. And then allow your body to relax. Getting ready for banana on the right side this time. So the rules are the same. Your hips cannot move, your sacrum cannot move. On an inhale, scoot your head and shoulders towards the right side of your mat. Grab onto your left wrist with your right hand. And give that left arm a stretch. Then, keeping that left hip on the mat, walk your feet off to the right. Just enough for you. And pause there. And feel the stretch. And notice if you have any congestion with your organs. If you do, just breathe into your diaphragm to free up those organs down below your rib cage so that they can readjust. If you'd like to intensify, lift that left foot up, place it over the top of the right ankle, and gently set it down again. And feel that nice stretch. Soften your belly here. Use your breath to help soften those muscles that are being stretched. Begin to deepen your breath. And then next, inhale, uncross your feet. Walk your feet back to center. Scooch your shoulders and your head back to center. And again, using your hands together, return both to the front of your body. When you're ready, bend your knees, walking your feet up towards your sit bones. Draw one knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Move that knee left to right, as far as you wish. And then release that foot back to the mat. Draw the other knee into your chest. Banana is a great side bend, but it's really intense. And then bring both knees up into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Rock from left to right. And then coming all the way over onto your right side. Use your left hand to push the floor away. Rise up to a seated position. So we're to double swan on the other side. So your left leg will be on top. Again, if your ankles are barely crossing, that is enough. What you're looking for here is sensation in your glutes. So you're opening up both glutes. You can use a block or a towel. I hope you still have your strap available. From here, once you have your strap, just set it aside. Let your hands rest on your leg. Lengthen up your spine, tall, tuck your chin in a little bit. Close your eyes and observe what's happening in your hips and in your glutes. And with your breath. And on an inhale, open your eyes and find your strap. Grab one end of your strap with one hand and bring your hand right to the very end. Then find the distance so that your arms spread out in front of you are just about shoulder width. Now let go of the
end of the strap and bring your other hand behind you and pick up that strap behind you so that you have the same length of strap. What this does, it allows your shoulders the freedom to move. Normally, when you have your hands behind your back, you're interlacing your fingers and your shoulders get congested. Your shoulder blades come together and they pinch. This time, they're farther apart so you can open your shoulders a little bit more. So sit up high, hold that strap like you want to break it, and then lift up. And you're not trying to bring your head over to kiss the mat, but you're just trying to open up your shoulders. So I was planning this class, I was thinking about coming around and helping people by just lifting up their arms. Just a couple more breaths. This is a yawn pose. And then release. Set your strap aside, you're not going to need it again. Inhale your spine tall. And then exhale, begin to walk your hands forward. Coming over that left leg if you can. And if you don't come very far, that's fine too. You're stretching your spine here. Thoracolumbar spine, your muscles rather. It's a series of 4 muscles that goes all the way from your sacrum all the way up to your neck. And just allow your spine to round, your head to fall forward. And notice the sensations in your left glutes and your left hip. You can always crab walk your hands to one side or the other to see what that does. Experimenting. You may be able to dial in this glute stretch to the exact point that you want. Then try the other side. And then remember, in the future, you can do this modification whenever you wish. That's the great thing about yoga. It's your practice. It's your body. You're the only one that knows what's going on inside. But that gives you added responsibility. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, walk your hands back. Sit upright. Remove the block. If you're using one, carefully untangle your legs. Bring your feet out in front, your hands behind your hips. Now you can
Do windshield wipers if you wish. Maybe a yoga bicycle would be more appropriate because that will use your quads. I'm sorry, your glutes and your hip flexors. And when you come to center again, pause. This time, come over onto your right hip. Bring your legs around behind you. Come up into table pose one more time. And do a couple of cat-cows. Getting ready to do that other side of the face down spinal twist. And walk your hands and knees off to the left side of your mat. Carefully lower your right hip down. Lengthen your spine, look towards the front of your mat. And then walk your hands forward, bringing your chest down. Using a block or a towel for whatever props you might find most useful. Gaze out towards the right. And feel the twist in this. Notice how long it takes for those muscles that you just discovered to soften so that they disappear from your consciousness. That means that they've softened. You've succeeded. And if you'd like to change your edge, maybe crab walk your fingers again up towards the wall beyond your head. But again, don't go very far. Go to where the sensations are good for you. There are no style points here. And then let your shoulders soften. Your elbows come down to the mat, forearms come down. Don't overstretch your neck. Soften your jaw. Soften the muscles behind your eyes. Soften your lips and your cheeks. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, look your hands back close to your chest. And lift up just high enough so that you can easily roll over onto your back. Bend your knees. Bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a squeeze. And rock from left to right. Or make circles if that's more satisfying. And the next time you come to center, pause here and release one leg out to the front corner of your mat. And then release the other. Soften your thighs. Maybe rock your hips from left to right. Softening your glutes. Bring your arms by your sides with your palms up. Maybe rock your head from left to right. With your eyes closed. Finding the right spot for your head to rest. And when you're ready, take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and exhale it out through your nose. Take another deep inhale. Exhale it out through your nose. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers and to your toes, to your wrists, into your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, walk your footprints up to your sit bones. And give yourself a squeeze. And rock from left to right. And then coming all the way over onto your right side, pause there for just a moment. And scan your body one last time for any hidden tension or stress that you'd like to address later this week. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away. Rise up into a seated position. Thank you for sharing your yoga practice with me this evening. You truly inspire me to work hard, to create interesting classes that address your needs. Take the compassion and the empathy that you practice every time you step on your mat. Take that with you wherever you go and share it with each person you may meet. Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks, Glenn.
My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga. Thanks for coming.